Were you ever in a fraternity?
Indirectly, but I wasn't in one myself.
So I was in Sigma Alpha Epsilon, SAE, same assholes everywhere.
Yeah.
At San Diego State, we were like the douchiest of the douchey, right?
Which at SDSU is an accomplishment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, distinguishing.
So our thing that like, we're not even supposed to tell people, right? But I don't care. We do this and you say Phi Alpha. And what Phi Alpha means is brightness from obscurity.
Mm.
And to me, at the time I was going through like...
Did you just give out like a huge secret right now?
Yeah.
Am I going to get a fucking death threat?
Yeah. But
I'm not involved in this.
You can find it on the internet if you want to. But to me, like, everybody never actually looked at what it was. Like, to me, it's like duality.
Okay.
Like brightness from obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you find light through the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these cool, like, metaphors and like innuendos and stuff that I just feel like none of the dudes, like, I realized what it was supposed to be going through the hazing and everything, because they're scaring the living shit out of you.
Was it brutal?
It was brutal, right?
Was it?
And then all of a sudden you're just like,
yes.
All of a sudden you're in and you realize, oh, all of that was just, all that fear was for nothing. Like, it was actually like fake. And so their motto, brightness from obscurity, that actually is a rite of passage into manhood that they're trying to teach you.
When did this dawn on you? At the time or after?
As I was having a mental
reawakening.
Yeah.
Or mental reshuffling.
Yeah, dude. It was like, I was like, dude, because I love the idea of rites of passage.
Okay.
And do you know what a rite of passage is?
Yeah, of course.
Would you just explain to our lovely viewers, for those of them who don't know what a rite of passage is, what would your definition be?
So I think in this context, a lot of cultures have a rite of passage where there'll be an event or a day or a ceremony or a test.
Yep.
Where a boy will transition into being a man.
Mm-hmm.
Something like the old lore would be a tribe gives a child, a young teenage boy, a knife and tells him to go into the wilderness. Then if he comes back in a week or whatever time, that's symbolizing him becoming a man.
Absolutely. Well said, my friend.
God bless you. That was week one.
Yeah. So,
sorry, no explosions.
So, yeah, Joseph Campbell, A Hero with a Thousand Faces, is one of my favorite books. Talks about how, we don't have these rites of passages anymore for our society and our young men. Like, there's just a meaning crisis, a lack of meaning, and
I agree with that.
And it's so sad that not only have we deprived these young men of their rites of passage, but we've also demonized manliness, manhood, everything that is positive about masculinity. A lot of it, we've demonized it. And so I think it would be really cool to somehow bring back,
be the champions of the rites of passage
for young men.
I agree.
Be sick.
No, that's, I think
it'd be one of the coolest things you could do.
Oh, that would be a worthwhile thing,
right?
A worthwhile endeavor to bring back at least the consciousness and awareness of that.
Yeah, and I would like for me, I'm like thinking about how can I tie that into also with Christianity, like, how can it be a thing where, I don't know if those are mutually exclusive or are they together? Like, is that part of it? Like, is it just purely like, can you be like, if you're a Christian, can there be like pure masculinity without a biblical influence, like the influence of Christ?
Well, they talk about in the Bible I don't know the passage off the top of my head, but I know that the Bible talks about the importance of there's a man's duty to take care of his, I think the wording is like the family, like within his house, like your immediate family and
household.
Your household. Yeah. No, yeah. I can't remember the phrasing, but there's I think something that, so there's I think there's a couple things at play. Like, I think like one of the things that you could say is part of being a man is that you become successful enough to have excess to where for more than what, so you have surplus for more than what you need. So you're able to take on a spouse and then children. I think now this cost of living and how hard it is to get a job that even keeps up with the cost of living makes it so there's a lot of men who it's impossible for them to transition into manhood because that gap is too far. So before, I think we did have some rites of passage for like people in the, maybe up until like the 90s. Their rites of passage was they would do what was required. They would develop themselves enough to get a job that was provided surplus so they could start a family. I think that gap is so far now that I think that there kind of are no rites of passage that are available for the average person, because they're not where we live. Realistically, if you want to be able to own a home and have a family who is not struggling, you have to make in substantial excess of $100,000.
Yeah.
Substantially. That already, realistically, that already cuts out 85% of people.
Yeah.
Because those jobs, the requirements to get those jobs, you have to already be a very standout person. Most people aren't standouts.
Yeah.
Which I don't mean that to
by the definition of standout.
By the definition
stands
of the word.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that I think before the rite of passage was already kind of a built-in thing that you would have your shot at, even if you didn't come from like a tribal culture or like maybe like a religious ceremony. So
are you tying in, because are you saying like the modern definitions of man are related to status and wealth and the ability to provide? Because why are those interlinked?
Because it says in the Bible that you
provide for your household.
Yes. And now I'm saying that is out of reach for the vast majority of people because of the situation that the society is in for most people. And I'm not talking about having a Porsche. I'm talking about just if you want to be able to provide for your family, you're competing for a very small number of jobs.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
And I mean,
which makes it very hard to transition into manhood.
Or do you think the military is useful for young men then? Do you think that could be a rite of passage in just terms of like becoming a man, like if you complete 4 years of military service, don't you think that is a kind of a rite of passage for those,
of course,
for those boys to become men?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, like
and I think a lot of those guys get those jobs, like, because they get training, they are developed, they're taken from 18-year-olds and they're developed into like having responsibilities.
Discipline.
I heard somebody say something that I thought was really smart that sounded harsh at the time, but I heard them say one of the things that's so great about the military, and I wasn't in the military, but a lot of people in my family were, but I heard them say, and it always stuck with me. They said that one of the things that's really good about the military is you have someone who's in control of you that doesn't love you.
Yep.
And like sometimes your parents' love can buffer you from the things that you really need to experience.
Yep. In the words of Shia LaBeouf, there'll always be wiggle room.
Yeah.
Their parents always creating, whereas the military, there's situations where
you have to be here at 5 o'clock.
There is no wiggle room.
Right. And I think that's really critical for a lot of young guys.
I agree. And that's, for me, that's why, like, I'm really glad I went on my own and tried to forge my own path before coming back to work with my father.
Yeah, that's critical too.
Because I know I would have I'd be a lot softer.
Now you're made out of oak.
I'm a street cat now. I'm an alley cat. I'm not a house cat, baby.
You got to get a fucking scar right here.
Dude, I had a scar right there.
What happened to it?
My sister scratched me in the face.